It's fun for the actors, it's fun for me. There's nothing more dispiriting than when you turn up to work and there's just a green screen and a couple of actors in front of it. It's really, the magic's not there.
Where the theaters become amusement parks, that's a different experience. And it's like I was saying earlier, it's not cinema, it's something else.
Marvel movies and DC movies are movies. And there's been actually almost no competition to show him that there can be anything else.
The MCU is a career goal for many actors, but not everyone is interested. Here are some actors who refuse to star in Marvel movies. Leonardo DiCaprio is one of the most famous faces in the world and once the Hollywood heartthrob, but he has never been in a superhero movie. And it's almost amazing to think about, like, how did he escape? He's been approached, offered, had meetings with directors to play super roles like Robin in the 90s, Spider-Man, and even Joker back in 2019, but nothing has ever felt right to the actor, so he just isn't going to join the super club yet. Back in 2015, Leo sat down for an interview with Shortlist, in which he was outright asked if he would ever want to be in a superhero movie, to which DiCaprio's response was essentially that he might if he was given the right material. However, a piece of advice he gave the current Hollywood heartthrob, Timothee Chalamet, seems to backtrack on that statement. Chalamet shared in a 2022 interview with Vogue that when he met the acting icon back in 2018, DiCaprio told him his career rule: no hard substances and no superhero movies. So was he lying back in 2015 or what? Doesn't really matter. I'd be happy to see Leo in the MCU. I'd be happy if he just continues on with the work he's doing now. Either way, he's sure to turn out a great performance. We'll have to wait and see though. Timothée Chalamet follows DiCaprio's career advice or not. In an interview with the New York Times, he did say that the advice was good and that he follows them both. Chalamet is no stranger to participating in an action sci-fi franchise. His Dune films have been wildly successful, so will he follow that Leo rule, or maybe instead follow in the footsteps of his Dune co-star Zendaya and join the MCU? Why not take it a step further and join the Spider-Man franchise too? A popular fan cast for the actor is Harry Osborn, and I think that would be cool. Plus, he's already good friends with Spider-Man and MJ, Tom Holland, and Zendaya, so he would just fit right in. Despite seemingly having little interest in ever actually playing a super part, Chalamet did share in the New York Times interview mentioned previously that he quite liked one particular superhero film, The Dark Knight. He's got taste. That movie and the whole trilogy are some of the best hero movies ever made. Chalamet even went so far as to say that The Dark Knight was one of the films that made him want to act. So while his sights don't appear to be set on the MCU or any superhero film right now, if something truly incredible came along, I'm sure he'd reconsider the DiCaprio rule. Jamie Lee Curtis has made headlines a few times in recent years for her comments about the MCU. Just recently, she actually had to issue a formal apology because everyone was so mad at her. Curtis joined MTV for a rapid-fire question game at Comic-Con this year alongside some other famous faces. One of the questions asked was what phase the MCU is currently in. No second thoughts, Curtis said bad. And listen, it's not funny, but it's a little bit funny.
What phase is Marvel in right now?
Bad.
As a society, we have to be able to admit that not every project in recent years has been a smash hit from Marvel. Marvel has experienced numerous box office flops post-Endgame. That doesn't mean that nothing good is coming out. They still have quite a few winners. But movies like Ant-Man the Wasp, Quantumania, and The Marvels unfortunately weren't shining stars. Jamie Lee's comment was not taken well by hardcore Marvel fans, and the actress did tweet out an apology shortly after. She basically just said sorry and that she wouldn't engage in clickbait content anymore. This isn't the first time Curtis has made a playful attempt at calling out the MCU. Back when Everything Everywhere All at Once, the film she won her Oscar for, was released, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness was also hitting theaters. Curtis, in what she later clarified to People magazine as being a playful attempt to stir up some competition, went online and declared her film to be the better multiverse thing of the two. My favorite comment she has ever made about the MCU though, that every time I see the behind the scenes for a movie of the MCU, I think of her. Again, speaking to People magazine, she said, "I'm afraid if I do a Marvel movie, they're going to stick dots all over me and make me act by myself in a warehouse somewhere." And we have to admit, she's right. Half the time, that's literally what it is. It looks fun and I would love to do it, but it's not for everyone. Surprisingly, Curtis isn't actually against the MCU or ever being in it. She just doesn't think that there will ever be a place for her. Alec Baldwin had to refuse a role in the MCU because it conflicted with his personal life. It's no secret that movies in the MCU, they take a while while to make and often mean really long days on set, and it's a big time commitment, that's for sure. And sometimes you just can't make it work even if you want to. For Baldwin, he had to refuse the MCU because his wife was pregnant and he needed to be with her and not off filming somewhere. It's unfortunate that he didn't get the opportunity to take the villain role offered to him at the time, but he was clear that he did want to do it. He never actually shared what the role was, but some people have figured out what would have been filming at the time, and it appears that the character most likely would have been Alexander Pierce from Captain America: The Winter Soldier. And that role does make sense for Baldwin, especially after seeing him play Alan Hunley in the Mission Impossible movies. Sticking with the Mission Impossible cast though, Tom Cruise famously was up for not just any MCU role, but like the MCU role, Iron Man. The reason he ultimately did not land the part was because of a pay dispute. At the time of Iron Man's development, Tom Cruise was already a big name, meaning his typical paycheck was also big. Superhero movies were a gamble at the time, and the studio just wasn't willing to spend all that money on something that they weren't sure was going to work out. While I'm sure Tom Cruise would have been an amazing Iron Man, I'm glad the MCU did take the risk with RDJ. And if Cruise actually did play Iron Man, he might have been locked on Marvel sets, and then where would the Mission Impossible movies be? I love those movies, and I'm so glad I don't have to live in a world without them. Ewan MacGregor is known for his involvement in the Star Wars franchise, playing a young Obi-Wan, plus a variety of other wildly successful films, but he doesn't seem to want to add Marvel to his resume just yet. The actor shared at Boston's 2022 Fan Expo that he wasn't sure if the MCU was for him. He said he wanted to step back into other aspects of the industry, directing, theater, so he's just not looking for a big Marvel contract right now. We almost had a very different Gamora, but Amanda Seyfried turned Marvel down. Her reason is as hilarious as it is understandable. She just didn't want to be green for 6 months, and I can't really blame her for that. The actress said that after her rejection, they just haven't really called her back. Seyfried has said that part of her wishes she hadn't rejected the studio, but the other part is happy with the life she's lived and other projects she's worked on. She later clarified that while she enjoys being in the audience watching Marvel movies, she isn't looking to don a suit or 5 hours of prosthetics and makeup just yet. Another Star Wars actor that is steering away from the MCU is John Boyega. He is no stranger to acting in a franchise, with one of his notable roles being Star Wars' Finn. The star has shared that the franchise life isn't all it's made up to be, calling it luxury jail in an interview with Cinema Blend. He said, "You're working on one character for many years, which can starve your other muscles." After playing one character for a few years, the actor is looking to step out into smaller films, indie films, to work that muscle again. Maybe somewhere down the line we will see him join the MCU, but for right now, he is refusing to get locked into any long-term contracts just yet. Jodie Foster seems so against superhero movies in general that I really would be surprised if she ever agreed to one. In an interview with Radio Times, the actress said that going to the movie theaters nowadays is like going to a theme park, which is something other famous industry people, like Martin Scorsese, have said too. Foster claimed that studios were no longer making quality content, but instead material designed more to appeal to the masses, something that she believes is ruining the viewing habits of the American population and then ultimately the rest of the world. She even said that she started questioning her career choice, so yeah, I think it's safe to assume she wouldn't touch a Marvel set with a 10-foot pole. Matthew McConaughey, like Amanda Seyfried, was nearly in a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, but he turned Marvel down. But that was because they actually turned him down years ago. Matthew McConaughey would be down to join the MCU, but only if he got to play one hero, the Incredible Hulk. Considering how settled Mark Ruffalo is in the role, it's highly unlikely a recast will happen to that character. Well, another one, anyway. Well, on the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast in 2020, McConaughey shared that once upon a time, he actually approached Marvel to play the Green Guy. He didn't specify if this was for the solo movie or when they were looking to recast the character for future Avengers films. Either way, Marvel didn't think McConaughey was right for the part and told the actor no thank you. Again, the score was even years down the road when McConaughey didn't think he was right for the role of Ego in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and rejected Marvel. But what do you think? Let us know. Bye!